We want to provide safer and more convenient lifestyles to the communities that we serve. The safer, the convenient piece has been added in the last several years, the last few years, because it used to be just safer. But security is so much more than that now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Awesome Inc.'s podcast, where we highlight people pursuing their definition of, you guessed it, awesome. So buckle up and get ready for some more success story adventures and failures from Kentucky's tech and entrepreneur community. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Awesome Inc. podcast. I've never said that before, and it's going to stay. I'm sitting across from Liz with her arms folded. I think that made her feel a little uncomfy, but we'll keep going. And we're with our good friend Taylor, who is hailing from about 75 feet away in his office in Awesome Inc. And we're pumped to talk with you about Silent Guard and the company Taylor is a part of. And boy, oh boy, I'm glad to be back. So Liz, say hi.
Hi guys, it's Liz. This is, I think, my first time not specifically on here for Venture Labs, only because I like Taylor that much.
Yeah, Taylor's, he's high quality.
No, as you guys know, I'm Liz from our Venture Labs team. We wanted to talk with Taylor with Silent Guard for a few reasons today. One, he's one of our favorite co-working members. They're also a huge security partner of ours. I would love for you guys
emotionally and physically to our space.
Like an emotional security blanket for us here at Awesome Inc. is what they are. No, they also have played a huge role in us being safer, feeling safer. And like many businesses in 2020, they had to pivot a lot last year. So that is why I wanted to come in just from an innovation standpoint, wanted to talk with him maybe near the end about some of the new innovations that they've made. But Taylor, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what in the world is Silent Guard.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be a part of this. Big fan of Awesome Inc. and what you guys do here, so this is really cool for me to get to be a part of it. But yeah, so like you said, my name's Taylor. I'm with a company called Silent Guard. That's our family business. We started in 1994. We've been doing security for a long, long time. It's changed a lot since 1994 in terms of what we do and how we do it. But my mom and dad have done a great job building our company, and we've had, it's a lot of fun now that I get to work with them. Some people don't get that privilege of seeing their parents as much as I get to, for one, but then getting to work alongside of them and us getting along for the most part is kind of unique. So my wife's part of our company too. And yeah, we do, basically residential, commercial security products, from video surveillance, access control, home automation, which is some of the coolest stuff that we do. And there's a lot of pieces that kind of go into that. Maybe we'll talk more about that.
I was going to say, everyone stay tuned at the end. We're going to just talk about how you guys trick out houses. That's what I'm most excited about. But no, that's great. So tell us about what I love. You work for a family business, which is great. But you guys also have been around for a while. And it's, from what we understand, there's a lot of company culture that's really important to you guys about how you treat your employees, how you build your business. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've got a team of, right now, I think there's 27 of us, which is really cool. We're not a little mom and pop shop, but we're also not a Fortune 500 company in terms of size. So we found a good little middle ground where we're continuing to grow. But my favorite part about that is mostly everybody that works with us, we have some sort of connection to outside of just working together, right? So a lot of the folks that work with us, maybe they were have been friends with my grandparents for a long, long time in some cases, or, we've got some folks that work with us that have been there for 19 years. So I'm 28. So if you do the math, a lot of them helped raise me, right? So there's pictures of me as a little kid, a little guy, like distracting people from work because we put a basketball goal up in the warehouse, and now we get to work alongside together. It's really neat. We value our company culture, above anything else, really. Take care of the people that work for us, work with us, take care of our customers, and then if we've got the right products and services and take care of people the way we hope we should, then hopefully our company will continue to grow. But yeah, we've got we've got a list of kind of our core values. We always kind of joke that we work hard and we play hard and we hold each other to a high level of accountability. My dad's been saying that since I was a little kid, and it sticks.
That literally just rolled right off your tongue, without thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of like it's not posted on a poster board or anything, but sure, everybody kind of knows that's how we operate. So, we work very hard from 8 to 5, and in some cases earlier than 8 and later than 5. Most days that's kind of the case. And what's cool is we do things, we've got a farm in Pulaski County where sometimes we'll just take an entire afternoon off and we'll tell everybody to bring their 4-wheelers, bring their ATVs, all this stuff, kayaks. We'll just go out to the creek and shoot guns and grill out. Like, we do that stuff too.
That's awesome.
We have a lot of fun. But we also hold ourselves to a high level of accountability. I mean, with what we do in the security industry, it could be a matter of life and death if we don't do that right. So it's funny, we used to have a Gold Star chili restaurant, and you mess up a cheese cone and you put mustard on it when somebody doesn't want mustard, well, you throw it away and make a new one. With what we do at Silent Guard, if you mess something up, although it's a minor thing of whatever, it can be life or death.
Break in or not break in.
So
right.
we have to hold ourselves to that high level of accountability, and we have each other's backs, and that's part of not having turnover. We've got folks that have been there for forever, and we kind of know how each other operate, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I love that you guys go out to a farm. I can think of 3 country songs that reminds me of. It feels like the definition of a Kentucky business.
Can I ask you what they are?
Ooh, the names are hard.
It's okay. I did that on the spot on purpose.
That's so mean.
Taylor, I'm totally going to intrude. It's getting towards lunchtime, and guess what? We're all people. People are listening to this, and they're probably hungry too. One of my best friends always asks this question when we meet somebody for the first time. It's our mock, and I did air quotes, it's our mock approval test if we'll like you and want to keep you around. So we're all 3 and us will close our eyes. So let's say we're going out to the Pulaski County farm, we're lighting up the grill, and you walk through the house and you take a big fresh gulp of water. I meant a big breath, and you're like, man, that smells good. Hold on, it's almost there. Take a deep breath in, that's what I meant to say. And you smell the amazing food that's on the grill. What do you imagine's on the grill cooking right now?
So what we would do are very thinly sliced ribeye sandwiches.
Oh, I've never heard that answer, and that sounds great.
Thinly, like slice it really, really thin, put them on hoagies, hoagies with some pepper jack cheese. That's our go-to.
Okay, that's why their company culture is awesome. All right, anyways.
Round Here and Barefoot Blue Jean Night are 2 of the 3.
I love that song.
But there's an older one that I would be proud of remembering if I could, that I think is from more like the 90s. That's probably the best one. I'll think of it before the end of the show.
I was once in a cover band for about a month, and one of our songs was Barefoot Blue Jean Night.
What?
It was great.
I can see it.
So, Taylor, how did you guys... let's talk a little bit more about how you're growing, et cetera. How did you guys start, and where are you going from here?
Yeah, so Silent Guard started in 1994 as a division of South Kentucky RACC. So it was a division of the local electric company. They created this product called a meter minder, or we're using a product called a meter minder that basically they could put it in your house.
Cute name, by the way. Yeah. Meter minder.
There's still some out there, and you could basically use this device to measure meters, electric meters, without having to send a truck out. That's one of the most expensive things in our industry is rolling a truck, right? So what would happen though is, you would have a subdivision where maybe 3 of the houses had a meter minder, and you still had to send a truck out to see all these other ones. So this was ultimately, it was a little bit ahead of its time. So they kind of pivoted and got into the alarm industry. And then a few years later in 2000, they decided to get out of it. So my dad had worked there since 1995. He was kind of there at the very front end of the company getting up and going. And I think they had a team of 3. So they were very small. They all wore all the hats. And my parents decided to purchase the company in 2000 and moved into a little office in the back of my grandparents' HVAC building. And that's kind of where we started. And it's pretty neat because the actual office is not there in that HVAC building. It's now become part of a bigger warehouse, but the door is still there. And I was next door. That office is 18 feet away from where we currently operate out of in Somerset. And I went by there the other day and I noticed that the Somerset, like the Pulaski County Chamber of Commerce sticker from 2000 is still on the door. And I thought that was so cool because it still had the old logo still on the door. Like the door still exists, but the office is gone. So that was kind of neat.
Awesome.
But so from 2000, we started as a residential alarm system company. So putting security systems in houses, basically. Not a ton of new construction in the Somerset Pulaski County area. So we've kind of made our business model that we work in existing homes and we'd retrofit houses and we do it in houses only. So that's kind of, you adapt or die. And we've adapted a lot over the last 20 years. So we do now businesses and homes and new constructions and all kinds of stuff. We do smart homes and we'll talk more about that. But yeah, things have changed a lot. In 2005, my parents kind of became an early adopter of this product called Alarm.com. So in 2002, I believe Alarm.com started, somewhere around that, Alarm.com started, and they basically had invented this idea of being able to control your alarm system from your phone. So that most people, you think in 2002, a lot of people didn't even have cell phones back then, right?
Yeah, that
so
is
now,
wild.
not only were they doing this on a cell phone, but they were letting people control their alarm system, which is crazy to think about because it had to have a landline phone. It had all these other things. So then they shifted into this idea of cell communication. So getting away from having to have a landline phone that you're paying for an alarm monitoring, you're paying for a landline, into doing it all into one through a cell plan. So that partnership with Alarm.com kind of took us to the next level, where we got away from just residential alarm systems to doing more commercial higher end stuff, and then also doing the home automation piece. So my parents have made a lot of really good decisions over the course of the last 21 years.
That was one of the better ones.
One of the better ones was partnering with Alarm.com. I think there's, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of Alarm.com dealers, and our dealer number is 354. So we were the 354th awesome. Company in the country to adopt this technology, and now we're the largest provider of it anywhere close to Lexington, Kentucky.
Now, do you guys has it always been primarily through referrals, your growth? Is that still the case, or did that used to be the case?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we started in Somerset, right? So if you know anything about Somerset, Kentucky, the Lake Cumberland is huge there. So that's a driver. I mean, you look at this, getting away from Silent Guard for a minute, you look at like that whole part of the state, right? So Somerset is very blessed that we have the lake, because you look at some of the counties around us, and it's some of the poorest counties in the entire country. And Somerset is extremely lucky and blessed to have Lake Cumberland. So when they built the dam and, built Wolf Creek Dam and decided to dam it up and create a lake, I mean, that was huge for us. And Silent Guard wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Lake Cumberland in the sense that we do now, because how we've grown our business and why we are sitting right where we're sitting right now in Lexington, Kentucky, why we have an office here, is because we have so many customers that have a lake house in Somerset, but they live in Lexington, or they have a lake house in Somerset, but they live in Northern Kentucky. So over the course of, since 1994 of this, we've got customers all over the place now. So we work as far north as Indianapolis and as far south as Knoxville, and that's basically happened because of Lake Cumberland.
Because that's a vacation home of a lot of people
exactly.
who live everywhere.
So
interesting.
Yeah, to answer your question, then I'll wrap that up. But we've never really done any strategic marketing because of what I said earlier. We take care of our people, our employees. We take really good care of our customers, and people tell people about us, right? So we've never had to. So that's kind of led into our growth, and why we're here, why we have an office in Lexington now, is because if we want to continue doing things the way we've been doing them for 21 years for our customers in the Somerset area, we've got to have more locations so we can better serve our customers in Lexington, in Moorhead, and Dry Ridge, and Georgetown, all these different areas.
Yeah, very cool. Following your business. That's great.
Yeah. It reminds me of some of the best sales advice I ever got / marketing, was that it's far cheaper to keep your current customers than to go find new ones.
Yeah.
We're always very focused on, we need to find 50 new people.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you do, but if you keep people happy, then they'll find them for you.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute, but there's so much in our market. There's so much competition now, right? So between these, you can get on Amazon and buy an alarm system, or you could go to Lowe's or Costco. You can go to Costco and buy the bulk of 100 alarm systems on a pallet, or, whatever. But anyways, you can buy all this stuff. There's so much competition in the market now that we have to compete against. We've had to shift, and, last summer, I think we'll talk about this in a minute, but what we had to do in 2020 in terms of adapting is a product of that.
Right. Keeping people happy.
Yeah.
So brief pause out of y'all's history. I'm curious, what brought you guys to Lexington, and why in the world decide to work out of a co-working space?
Yeah, that's a funny question. Or I guess the reason we're here, because like in Somerset, we've got like a 6,000 square foot office, and we've got a big warehouse, and we've got a bay for all of our vehicles. It's maybe another 3,000 or 4,000. So it's, here we have like a 12 by 12 office, or whatever the size.
I think I can touch both sides.
Yeah,
of the
exactly. So it's
hands.
a totally different atmosphere. And what's cool is we kind of had to come into this wearing two different hats, right? So in Somerset, Kentucky, in that office, we're established. People know who we are. It's a totally different mindset, even from a marketing standpoint. When we came to Lexington, we had to think like a startup, right? So we're the new guy in town. You guys had never heard of us before we met at Awesome Inc. So we had to shift our mindset, and part of that was if we're going to think like a startup, where are startups at, right? So because of some of my prior experience in working with the Cabinet for Economic Development, I was very familiar with Awesome Inc., the resources that you guys provide, what you've been able to do for other startups that have literally started from scratch. I feel like we have a little bit of a head start because we've got however many years, 27 years of experience is quick math. But we had to basically take on this mentality of a startup, and we wanted to be where startups are. And for me, you know, my mom and dad have always said, build your team, you know, with the right people, and surround yourself with people that are much smarter than you. That's the best way, I think, to learn things are by being in a room with people that are way more intelligent and way more experienced, you know, than you are. So, you know, thinking from that perspective, where does our business need to be, you know, physically be where we can be around people that are more experienced at being a startup and are more intelligent at us in the tech community and know how Lexington operates, right? So for us, it was an easy decision that Awesome Inc. is the answer to that. And I think, again, I'm going to look back 21 years from now, just like I look at my mom and dad's decision of, you know, working with Alarm.com, and I'm going to hopefully be able to say partnering with Awesome Inc. was one of those decisions that helped get us to the next level.
Man, I love that. We're going to make sure that's the case, Taylor. No, that's awesome. What I'm curious, what has been what you've expected and maybe what surprised you working out of a co-working space?
Yeah.
Especially that you have how many square feet did you say in Somerset?
Yeah, there's probably, it's close to 10,000.
Maybe 27 people there.
Exactly. I think I measured it one day. We've got like 154 square foot office here. So it's a little different. My office in Somerset is bigger than Silent Guard Lexington's office here. But
for now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
No, we're growing. I mean, again, shifting our mindset, we're kind of doing things a little bit differently here. You know, like in Somerset, for example, we have a sales team and we have installers. You know, in Lexington, we've shifted because, again, there's so much more competition that we build a lot of our business on relationships. So we've got an awesome team here in Lexington that they know how to design and sell the systems, and they know how to install them, and they know how to service them. So we're kind of using like some hybrids, I guess, here in this area. Which is cool because then the end customer, the end user gets to develop an even better relationship with the person, because the same person that's designing it and selling it is the same person that's installing it and is coming to service it when they need something. And we pride ourselves on the customer service aspect of it. And I think that's the relationship of that customer service is kind of taking it to a whole nother level.
I do want to shift a little bit. Like you said, we want to talk about last year. Obviously, it was a hard year for everyone, I think, particularly for small businesses. What did last year look like for you guys? And I would love for you to just take the opportunity to kind of brag on yourselves with some of the pivots you guys made. Yeah,
I think, I mean, to be frank, 2020 was a nightmare. I mean, actually, it started with the fall of 2019. We've been, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you guys, but we were a dealer of a product line. So we've been using the same product line since 1994. So you think of like a Ford dealership, right? So they sell Ford cars. That's what they sell. We were a dealer of a brand called Interlogics. It was the security division of General Electric is where it started, and it shifted and was sold off in different things. But basically, we were an Interlogics dealer since 1994. We were one of the first 8 companies in the country that found out that this was happening, and they basically called and told us they were getting out of the alarm industry, like shutting down. So it would be like, to compare it to like a car dealership. Imagine you're a Ford dealership, and all of a sudden Ford calls and says they're shutting down. So that was a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So
just for context, how recently had you like come on in the position you're now when that happened?
Just a few months prior.
So, I mean, you're like brain spanking new to trying to take this over.
So, I mean, I think, I'm a person of faith, and I think that God watches out for us. And I think that, you know, his timing is always perfect. And I won't bore you with all the details of this, but when my parents asked me to step into this role to kind of handle our operations, I told them, I was like, listen, we've got to make the best decisions for Silent Guard, not for our partners that we've been partners with since 1994. You know, at some point, it's got to be kind of about us, you know. So one of the first things that I did was I set out to find not just what are we using as far as hardware right now, but what is the best option out there, but then also trying to find a middle ground of how do we not kind of piss off the people that we've been friends, because we're very, very loyal people. I mean, it's all about relationships. So we set out to find this new product, this new security panel that we were going to bring in to replace it, and to replace one of the pieces of equipment that we use. And that manufacturer, which is a company we still use today, that manufacturer was in our office training our sales team and our technicians on how to sell this and how to, design systems around it. So they were there all day. And then we got the call at 4:30 from our current manufacturer that they were shutting down. So somebody was watching out for us.
That's awesome.
We were ahead of the curve. A lot of our friends across the industry, they were totally blindsided. I mean, we were too. It wasn't like we got a heads up, but we were more prepared because we had already generated new relationships with other partners. And so that was, so I say all that to say, all of this was going on where we had to set out to find new partners for access control, for video surveillance, for security products, the three main things that we do. We had to find all new hardware partners and then learn it and then learn how to sell it and how to, anyways,
that's a whole new business.
It was a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So then you fast forward, that was in the fall of 19. And then in March or April, whatever it was, COVID hits, and the Wednesday of the SEC tournament, that was like, as the SEC tournament started getting canceled, we didn't know what was going on. We decided we would kind of look into what was happening. And then on that Monday, we ended up having to lay off 7 or 8 employees, which had never happened in the history of we had never laid off a single employee. And then even to that point, then, we had to, everybody had to wear more hats. We didn't have the manpower. And then we basically had to make some decisions. Do we keep employees on the payroll or do we pay vendors that we owe money to? So we really needed to lay off several more employees, but we found out who had our back in terms of our partners and who didn't. And again, we're extremely loyal to the people that work with us, and the ones that didn't have our back, we've kind of moved on. So you find out who your friends are when things get tough. So you kind of had all that stuff going on, but ultimately business has to go on, right?
Sure.
I mean, it continues. And what we do was we had to figure out, if people don't want us in their house and we have to be in their house to work, what do we do? Right? So we were able to kind of create this product using some of our new partners that we had made. They helped us do this. We created that not do it yourself, not a professional install. We called it do it together. So basically we could still sell alarm systems and we would do all the programming in our office. So we did all the legwork, and we would sometimes we'd just drop it off on a porch, and we'd talk to them on the phone and teach them how to do it. And we had to shift, and we're still doing some of that stuff.
I've been in sales for most of my career. That personal relationship, how much that matters. You can maybe be slightly more expensive or take a little bit longer, but if your vendor knows they can, or rather if your customer knows they can count on you, then that can make the world of a difference. No one likes starting over a new vendor relationship because it takes so long to build that trust. So
I truly believe that we do things better than our competitors, not because they don't do it well. I just think we do it better. And I think the reason we do that is because we have such an awesome team of people. It'd be a lot easier for us to, get rid of employees and pay the bills, but that's not what it's about. And that's the mindset we take every day. I mean, I look at my job at Silent Guard as, I have day-to-day responsibilities and things I have to do, but ultimately my job is to make everybody else's job easier.
I do love how much you love home security. We say often there's a cheeky little quote somewhere in our office that says it's hard to be successful at something that you don't
think about in the shower.
That's right.
I think it's Paul Graham from Y Combinator. Maybe.
I think you're right. But I think that's true.
I'll share something. I used to work for Matt Bevin when he was the governor of Kentucky, and something he shared, I don't remember if he said this directly to me or it was in a speech or something, but I've never forgotten it. But he said, wherever you are, make sure that your head, your heart, and your feet are all three there. Your feet physically be there, have your heart in it, be passionate about it, and then have your mind in it where you're focused, right? And if you can find yourself where you can, or find a place where you can be there with all three of those, then I think you're in the right spot. And I feel like that's where I'm at. And I think that I think our entire team's there too.
By the way, Down on the Farm was the final song by, Tim McGraw, 1994. Anyway,
how fitting, 1994.
Thank you. I told you it was early 90s.
Yeah.
So kind of to round this out, let's talk about some fun stuff. First of all, you're obsessed with home security, so I think it's fun for you to talk about. But this was some of the most fascinating things to learn about you guys. What's just some of the cool stuff you guys do with houses? Like, I feel like we all think of what was the Disney Channel original movie,
Smart House.
Yeah, that's in my mind.
Yeah,
you guys, it feels like you're not that far off.
Yeah, that's basically what we do, especially now with some of the things that Amazon and Google have done, and even Apple with the Alexa integrations, and so basically, I mean, we can make your house do about whatever we don't have carpet that sucks up messes like they have in Smart House in that movie, but maybe that's the next thing. But well, actually, that's kind of a lie. We do something called Central Vac, where basically we run vacuum hoses. This is on new constructions, but we can run vacuum hoses all through your house and through your walls, so that like at my parents' kitchen, they just like flip a little switch on the ground and sweep it into the wall, and it sucks things up, right?
It's pretty sweet.
I've never even heard of that.
So I guess we are there to a degree. And that's, that's been around for a while. But yeah, what we do that's a little bit differently, you think of the security is just one piece of it. So what used to be an alarm system that just made a lot of noise and called the police if somebody broke in, and it was more reactive to what was happening. What we do now is more on the proactive side. So we think of the idea of this, not just the security piece, but the home automation and the smart home thing is more total awareness of your home. You think of like those people that have lake houses in Somerset. They're not there very often. They need to be aware of what's going on. So when I say aware, they need to know that their garage door's shut. They need to know that their door's locked. They need to know that, maybe it's the middle of the summer and they don't have the air on, 65 while they're not there. So not only can you control all this stuff on your phone, but you can also be totally aware of what's going on, even to the point of like we can integrate. We basically use a set of rules of like, if this, then that. That's basically kind of how it works.
Sure.
So you set up rules that maybe say that, if my camera detects a person, not necessarily a animal or a vehicle driving by or whatever, but if it detects a person in a specific area, then go on and turn on the lights on my front door, or on my front porch, record a video from my video doorbell. Maybe you want it to go ahead and unlock the door for them, and you want it to disarm the alarm system, and you want it to adjust the thermostat. You can make it do all this stuff. When I lay in bed at night, I would always stress about, oh, did I forget to shut the garage door? Did I lock the front door? Did I turn the lights off outside? All this. Did I adjust the thermostat down? Now, when I literally lay in bed at night and the lamps are on in my room, and I say, Alexa, run the sleep scene. And she knows because we integrate Alexa with alarm.com. And
that's really cool.
This happens every single night. She turns off the lamps in my room. She drops down the thermostat. She makes sure that the garage door is closed. She locks the front door to make sure it's locked. Adjust the thermostat. I don't know if I said that. And then she'll arm the security system to say, and then she will set the lights on. She'll turn the lights off outside and then just set them on only if they detect a person in the driveway, then turn the lights on. All by me saying, run the sleep.
I almost want to stay the night at your house just to.
I know. Can we come over?
You're welcome to. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating that it's not just motion detection anymore between just anything that moves.
Yeah, we even have the ability. Some people, what used to happen, especially with businesses, is let's say you close business at the end of the day on Friday, it's 5 o'clock, right? And then you come back at 8 a.m. or maybe you show up early on Monday morning, whatever, and you've been broken into or something's been stolen off your property. Well, now you've got to go to a DVR, to a recorder, and you've got to look through, 3 days of footage to figure out what happened. Well, now we can literally tell you that somebody's there before they even have a chance to do anything. And we've used this even at our own property. Believe it or not, people try to steal things from an alarm company's parking lot, which is ridiculous. But now that things are happening before it actually happens. So that's huge. And then you also know exactly when it happens. So you have an audit trail. And I'll share a really funny example. We had this lady that kept going through our dumpster at our office, which is not illegal. That's fine. So we let her do it for several nights in a row. We didn't say anything about it until one night we saw that she was smoking, and she threw her lit cigarette in our dumpster, which could have been really bad. That could have caused, that could have been an issue. So anyway, she came back the next night and we're like, okay, she's here. We called one of the guys that works for us that lives down the street, and he was able to go catch her in the act while she was there. And it was hilarious because, he didn't have a gun or anything, but she threw her hands up in the air, scared to death, and she's not been back since. But you think of how that used to work. It used to be we wouldn't have even known that somebody was there.
You just know your dumpster catches on fire.
Exactly.
And you don't know.
Yeah, wouldn't have known how it happened or when it happened. So yeah, it's the smart home stuff to me is some of the coolest stuff that we do.
We do not yet have that smart of security system in our office space. I did once run into a glass door in
That
the
was your
awesome
fault. You were
space.
texting and walking.
It was my fault. I was texting and walking. Some team member who shall remain nameless went through all of the security camera footage to find the footage of me running into said glass door, sent it to our software engineers, who then made a GIF of it. Do you know how much time and effort that took?
Not, it was well worth doing, I think.
And then sent it to the
It
entire
definitely made you
office
feel
space.
appreciated, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll DM it to anyone who wants to
it's
see
great.
it. It's a good time.
So one question I have is something that I feel like we've touched about in different pieces in this conversation. So you guys have done a lot of cool things to trick out houses. You talked about your own smart house. So what has that looked like for you maybe over the last year and a half, as you found some new providers, some new resources to really trick out or beef up your current customers to make their overall experience even better?
So that's always a challenge, shifting the narrative of helping people to understand what it is that we do. The cool thing about COVID, I guess if you can find some, bright spot there, is that people are spending more time at home. It's people are more aware of what's happening in their house, and that's a constant challenge for us. Is how do we educate people on what else we can do? Alarm.com helps with that. One of the biggest things is, we generate our business again through referrals. So if we can get some stuff in people's house, and the best way for us to educate people is for you to have it on your phone and you to use it and show other people about it. Or when you're at your house, like my friends all the time are at my house, and I'll say, Alexa, turn off the lights. And they're like, well, how do I do that?
Well, I think part of it too is the customer experience of like, oh, watch this cool thing. I mean, you literally did that verbatim to me outside of the room we're in currently. You're like, oh, you manually have codes? Hey, let me show you what our company can provide. And then the fact I can be at home and get a notification at 8 a.m. that someone's coming in the room.
I had a friend coming in town that stayed at my house. The old way you'd have to do this, or I'll use like the bug guy that comes to spray at my house, right? So you'd have to leave a key under the mat, or somebody would have to go home, which is a pain in the butt, especially, I spend a lot of time in Somerset. And if I'm in Somerset and I've got to meet somebody in Lexington, that throws off my whole day. So we can put in a code for the bug man. And whenever he comes, he's got his own code. His code only works on certain times. So maybe it only works Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10, and no other time that it works. I get a notification that the bug man came. I don't have to teach him how to use the alarm system, because when he puts his code in the door between 9 and 10 on Wednesday mornings, it goes ahead and disarms the system. And then when he leaves, it notifies me and it arms it back. So the convenience of that. I mean, that's our mission statement, is that we want to provide safer and more convenient lifestyles to the communities that we serve. The convenient piece has been added in the last several years, the last few years, because it used to be just safer. But security is so much more than that now. The security is not hiding the key under your mat. It's unlocking it remotely from 90 miles away.
Taylor, this has been great. Selfishly, I have one last question from the Awesome Inc. side. You guys have a lot of, it sounds like, culture, maybe even some quirks. Are there any quirks or culture you would like to either compliment us on publicly or make fun of us for publicly?
I won't make fun of you for anything, but my two favorite things about Awesome Inc. One, I love the rule in the kitchen that if there's not coffee, make coffee. So I love that. And I also love the idea that there's always double stuffed Oreos all over the building.
We do.
So I'll tell you something really fast. When we first came in here, in all seriousness, it's kind of silly, but those two things, and one other thing, when we walked into our office, we kind of reinvented how we operate our business based on this book called Traction. And I think you guys are familiar with that and have implemented a lot of that stuff. And so we're, I would say Traction fanatics. And when we walked into the office that we're currently working in now, the office was totally empty except a little white table, and sitting on the table was the book Traction. So when we saw the double stuffed Oreos and the coffee and the book Traction, we knew that this is where we needed to be.
Shout out to Oreos. We're still waiting on that sponsorship. Well, Taylor, thank you so much. We're excited to tell people a little bit more about you, and we really do love having you guys around, and I really appreciate your partnership.
And I think to our listeners, two things. One, check out Silent Guard. They're worth your business. They're an awesome Kentucky company. And secondly, follow up, send a voice memo. We want to interact with you on our podcast. Again, that's what Taylor did. One time he busted into a recording. It was awesome. So we want more of that. So again, thanks for listening, Taylor. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Awesome Inc.'s podcast. And another quick thank you to Lee Rosevere and a few members from our community who provide the music that you hear in this show. Lastly, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. Or even better, come on down to our space. Come be a part of our community and get plugged in, and let's start something awesome together. You guys rock. We'll see you next time.